Research at Telemet Research. Let's start with these tech stocks. If we look at they're called FANG, F-A-N-G stocks, essentially the 5 prominent American tech stocks in 5 prominent American tech companies. Their stocks have gone up anywhere between 30 and 70%. But you have argued that their valuations are difficult to defend.
That's correct. 2020 was an exceptional year where companies that were in the online space, whether they were in e-commerce, social media, or in the streaming business, had revenues that they did not expect to receive until much later. So there was an acceleration of the usage of these platforms. We cannot expect that the usage levels that we've seen in 2020 for these names can be sustained in 2021 with the likely usage of the vaccine, with the likely reduction in COVID-19 cases in 2021. We could see a return to normalcy, and hence the valuations of these companies are hard to defend.
Well, if I could make a contrary point, you could argue that these trends, for example, online shopping, going online to do more things, watch more things, these were trends already in the making before the pandemic hit globally. What the pandemic might have done was to make more people, force them to get more accustomed to going online. Surely these habits are not going to go away after the pandemic, vaccine or no.
They will definitely not go away with the vaccine or the end of the pandemic. You're absolutely correct. However, as an experiment, you should look at the behavior of people here in Singapore when the circuit breaker was lifted or when the circuit breaker situation was eased. You could see people meeting in person to a far higher degree, and now many officers are gradually moving away from a work from home type situation, and that would suggest that there would be lesser usage of Zoom and a lesser usage of the online platforms. People will go back to using taxis, from using hotels, to traveling and meeting in person, which would dilute the usage of these tech platforms.
All right, which brings us to a final question. Of course, 2020 has been a year when the market chased anything with growth momentum. Of course, suffering, relatively speaking, would have been traditional value stocks. Those have languished. Now, with the vaccine coming into play all over the place, do you see these traditional stocks picking up the lure again, these value stocks that have been valuable in the past but have lost some popularity perhaps this year? Where should investors be putting their money? These stocks next year?
People need to look at value. There's been an upsurge in value for the companies that were hard hit by COVID-19, or the sectors that were hard hit. These include things like transportation, hotels, cinemas, restaurants, F&B. So there's a whole surge of value opportunities in this space. For example, in Singapore, one stock that was very badly hit was Comfort Delgro, because there was a loss in revenue from people not traveling by taxi. However, with the return of normalcy in 2021, it's likely that transport stocks like Comfort Delgro will see an upsurge in revenue. The same would apply to hotel stocks. People will go to the cinema to a far greater degree. So we need to look out for opportunities in this space.
Well, thanks very much indeed for that, Mr. Nirgunan, Head of Consumers Equity Research at Telemet.
Nirgunan,